In this video, we'll be exploring boundaries and how establishing boundaries can help you recover from illness. This is part of a 14-part video series that explores how trauma, stress, and anxiety play a pivotal role in health recovery. Hi there, I'm Dr. Chanu Dasari. I'm a surgeon who specializes in reversing gut microbiome dysfunction and autoimmune inflammation. My technique for reversing symptoms in as little as 6 weeks has helped thousands of patients over the years and is called the Mind-Gut Immunity Method. And if you'd like to learn more, visit mgiclinic.com and request a discovery call. Now, many of you know my personal story. In my early 20s, I struggled with autoimmune disease and digestive dysfunction. And I was able to fix inflammation naturally using the same methods that I now use in my patients. But even after all these years, after my recovery from autoimmune disease and digestive dysfunction, I've still struggled with the anxiety and frustration. Why was I so sick? Why did I ignore the early signs? Why did I let stress take over? And more importantly, why did I deprioritize myself in these situations? These lingering questions were important ones for me to answer because they were at the heart of why I became sick in the first place. After working with thousands of patients over the years, I can tell you that the themes of trauma, stress, and anxiety keep popping up. So in the Mind-Gut Immunity Clinic, we've enlisted the help of a personal development coach to help create awareness for my clients to understand how anxiety, stress, and trauma play a pivotal role in autoimmune inflammation and digestive dysfunction. It's a mini personal development workshop, if you will, within the Mind-Gut Immunity Clinic that creates awareness around illness. Our clients work one-on-one with our coach, Virginia, who you'll see here today, to integrate new awareness and thought processes into recovery. I can tell you from personally working with Virginia over the years that this is a much needed addition to the Mind-Gut Immunity Academy. And from the positive feedback I've received from my patients, I know that this is something that can help others in their healing journeys. In this video, we'll be exploring boundaries and how establishing boundaries can help create healthier outcomes. Okay, we're talking boundaries here.
Oh boy, that's a hot topic.
Yeah. So I know you work with hundreds of clients who specifically have just autoimmune inflammation and digestive dysfunction. Mm-hmm. What are some of the questions that you want answered during your first sessions?
How do they uphold their boundaries? Do they feel empowered to keep healthy boundaries, or is there something in the way of that? And even just simply, how do they view boundaries? Because some people don't even feel like they have the right to have them. And a lot of the autoimmune patients seem to feel like they don't have the right to withhold their boundaries because there'll be a consequence.
Give us an example, right? Give us an example of maybe a boundary that you see getting violated a lot, mm-hmm. that people have maybe a reluctance to enforce.
Social activities, eating out, drinking, just being around other people and being polite, and even though they know something may or may not be good for them, but they don't want to hurt the other person's feeling, so mm-hmm. they're afraid to say no, and they're not withholding their own safety boundaries around what's good for them.
Mm-hmm. That's interesting, right? Social activities surrounding eating.
Mm-hmm. That's a big one.
I mean, we just heard, we were on a client phone call with just that topic, right? He goes, well, I go eat out a lot and, I socialize. Well, yeah, that will have to change, right? Because if you are in those moments doing things, eating things that are creating inflammation in your body, for mm-hmm. example, and you know that, like mm-hmm. he even said, I know that the things that I'm eating and even like, staying out, late at night, not getting sleep, mm-hmm. not getting exercise, not doing a lot of things related to self-care, right? There's all this other stuff other than just the food, right? The food aspect. But
the biggest thing is, how do you handle the word no? How do you feel when you say no to someone and they get a reaction, then all of a sudden, what do you do then? Do you shrink from your no, or do you withhold your boundary?
But there's a lot of guilt associated with enforcing boundaries, right? Especially especially when it comes to like family or loved ones, mm-hmm. right? When even when let's say someone really close to you needs mm-hmm. something, and that you could probably do it,
Yeah.
but it would come at like an expense to you. Like either you like some kind, it would create some kind of stress. It would take away from some other thing very important to you, and you know that. But you continue to do those things. Like where do you draw the line?
You have to go deeper with yourself to figure out why you're doing that. And are you overusing guilt? Guilt has a purpose. I did something wrong. I feel guilty. I apologize. But that gets extended way past that with family, with friends. And then it goes back to love. Like, well, I'll feel bad. They won't love me if I uphold my boundary. So at the end of the day, it's do you love yourself enough to be healthy? And then can you redefine your belief around your relationship with those people that are actually manipulating you to get what they want?
It tends to
not keep you safe.
And it tends to be the same relationships, right?
Yes.
Like it tends to be that one or two people in your life, or maybe more. It tends to be like your employer. It tends to there's always like these sort of like very.
But the key source is you. Right? And so then we get to look at boundaries, and that's uncomfortable for people.
So what are some steps to establish healthy boundaries? What does that look like in a person's life?
I would say learn clear communication. Once you set a boundary, practice like you do going to the gym and lifting weights. Say the no, wait 90 seconds. Don't do anything after that, regardless of what the other person's response is. Because you do have to practice that. And the more you do it, the better you get at it. And then other people will adapt.
So I guess you need to first know who and why you're establishing boundaries with, right? That's probably the first. You just said like, the people that are, you got to just say no and wait 90 seconds. Well, you got to know who these people are, right?
Yeah.
These are the people that are so-called net outputs in your life, right? These are people like you're doing more for, and you constantly do for these people. They're not inputting into your life as much, right? So I think, so that's interesting. So identifying who those people are for sure. And then having the courage to say no, seeing what happens.
And being aware of yourself when that does happen. How do you respond to that? And that's where the coaching sessions come in. So we can interrupt that thinking of the automatic response, well, I just made them uncomfortable, I better give them what they want. Versus,
or I feel guilty.
Or I feel guilty, exactly. Which takes ownership, responsibility of oneself in order to execute those plans.
Yeah, I think ultimately you're right that once people sort of come to the recognition that when they enforce boundaries, they get so much benefit out of it.
Yeah.
And then they see what those benefits are doing for their own life. Then they realize like those relationships that are like the ones that they're worried about, right? If they feel some type of, like, let's say that person is mad that you're not bending over backwards for them, right? You tend to realize that those relationships probably aren't a good thing, right? For you in general. And you have to renegotiate these relationships and renegotiate obligations. Even obligations you may have taken on years ago, or said like, I'm going to do this thing for, even if you made or like, you said, I'm going to do this for you, you may need to even renegotiate those obligations, or even get help maybe achieving those. Like we have some clients that take care of their older relatives, right? Their older parents, right? And if it's one person and you're the person doing it and all the burden falls on you, next thing you know, like you're doing all this stuff and then you're not taking care of your own needs, you get autoimmune dysfunction, you get digestive dysfunction, you get all this stress associated with it. You get stress when their needs are not being met, and then you get caretaker fatigue, where you're almost like you're mad at you become mad at the person you're taking care of. And this tends to happen, I see it a lot in clients that don't have the ability to spread the burden, so to speak.
Right.
Like even if, like, say you're
perfectionism, or just having a strong need,
hyper independence,
or if I'm not helping someone else and I feel a certain way about it. I mean, it's a very complex issue, but it always starts with awareness of self, because you are functioning from your perspective, and we do have responsibilities and obligations, but we also have the right to say no and to choose.
And there are ways to strategize around those obligations, right? I think that's step 2 is like, okay, after you have identified who and what who the relationships are, what the boundaries are, right? and you've tested them out. Now it's now, like, I would say the next, I guess, step would be, is there a way to maybe offload some of these obligations, or maybe even divide up the so-called responsibility? You know, because you can't just, you know, like, let's say you're taking care of your child. It's very hard to be the only one taking care of your child, but maybe you need some friends, maybe you need some daycare, maybe you need some, like, other family members involved with trying to help out that situation, you know.
Being okay with asking for help and looking for resources. And you know, at the end of the day, it always comes down to you, because you're running your show. So we could talk about 1,000,001 situations. This person has this dilemma, this person has this dilemma. But at the end of the day, the core issue comes in how you handle things, how you have healthy dialogue, how you make choices will be reflected outside of you. So our goal in this program is to help people reclaim their own power. So it doesn't matter the circumstance, they're going into how to navigate it because they know themselves. So becoming aware of their own internal compass.
Yeah, and when they do, it's great. It's not like it's an upgrade, really.
It's empowering. They feel empowered to execute in a way they haven't before.
Yeah. It's not only the boundaries. I would even say their relationships improve with a lot of people. Like, they see a lot of benefit come out of this, and it allows them to stop thinking about, like, sort of worrying so much about other outcomes that are outside of their control. They can focus that energy and attention on themselves, on healing their inflammation, on healing their digestive dysfunction, their autoimmune.
And they can negotiate better an expectation versus an agreement. They can then have a healthy dialogue that doesn't seem so cloudy, where we're running our own story, because it's more clear.
Yeah. I think the boundary thing is just so important, and everyone.
It's imperative.
It is, and it tends to be like we've already discussed, like, this people-pleasing behavior.
It kind of goes all together.
Of course it does, because people-pleasing behavior by definition is the inability to enforce boundaries.
That's right.
I mean, that's what it is.
Or
that's
claim your own choice.
Correct.
And have it be okay, or not okay with others, and you're still okay.
Yeah.
Because we will make people unhappy sometimes.
Yeah, and that's okay.
And that's okay. And then they get to regulate their feeling around it. So you do.
And that's one of the affirmations you teach people, right?
Yes.
Like, it's okay if the other people are feeling what they're feeling, and it's an okay. Allow it to happen.
You handle your own feelings and allow them to handle theirs. You know, it's unfortunate in society we're just taught to behave, to color in the lines,
or feel
in
responsible,
the box, or feel responsible
for other people's, I guess, negative emotions or whatever, right?
Yeah. But that's the beauty of our program, and that we're going to help and support you through that process, because we recognize, you know, this doesn't happen overnight. We've had 30, 40, 50 years of conditioning to unravel, but it is possible, and it can happen quickly. And you're going to do the work, not us. So we're going to teach you how to help yourself.
Yeah, I would agree. Like, before putting the awareness coaching side of this awareness coaching program together, I don't think I've ever really seen something so formalized as what we're doing, right? We're sort of trying to formalize this process so that it becomes something that you can recreate. You can do it in a short period of time. You can see changes just like that, like in short periods of time. It's not going to require you to have, like, some deep...
it's not super complicated. No. It's literally, this happens to do this happens to do that. Like, and we can live our lives from that sort of powerful place.
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
Going in depth on topics such as these allow us to achieve uncommon healing. We already do a good job at solving gut microbiome dysfunction at the root of inflammation, and we make strides in trying to unwind the perspectives and behaviors that create illness in the first place. And that's how we achieve a lasting recovery. Now remember, we've got 13 other videos on similar topics, so if you found this conversation useful, be sure to check out the other videos. Also, share these videos with someone you know who's struggling with a health condition and doesn't know where to start. Sometimes just starting the discussion with them can help them change their perspective on illness. Lastly, don't forget to like and subscribe. And as always, I'm Dr. Chanu Dasari with the Mind Gut Immunity Clinic, and I'll see you next time.